Imagine a person with advanced insulin resistance. Their bloodstream is flooded with glucose, reaching levels that are toxic to their internal organs. Yet they are currently experiencing a physiological panic, an uncontrollable urge to eat more sugar with absolute trembling urgency. Now look at a retail day trader staring at a screen of flashing red tickers. They feel financially depleted, so they take their entire life savings and commit it to a 50x leverage trade, attempting to manufacture a 100 crore windfall before the market closes. A diabetic reaching for a cookie and a trader gambling on margin are driven by the same systemic failure. Both are surrounded by an abundance of resources, either sugar or market capital, yet both feel entirely starved. Why do the impulses that break down our physical biology often lead to the same catastrophic results in our financial portfolios? In both cases, the attempt to solve a deficit by dumping volatile, high-energy inputs onto a broken foundation doesn't restore balance. It accelerates the collapse of the entire system. These behaviors aren't failures of willpower. They are the logical, if destructive, responses to a breakdown in cellular and economic infrastructure. This diagram shows how your cells typically receive energy. When glucose enters your bloodstream, it requires a biochemical signal from the hormone insulin. When insulin docks at a specific receptor on the cell's surface, it triggers a gateway to open, allowing the glucose to move inside. After years of chronic sugar exposure and elevated stress, these cellular gateways stop responding to the insulin signal. This is insulin resistance. The glucose remains trapped in the blood, while the interior of the cell receives zero energy. Your brain doesn't monitor the glucose in your blood. It monitors the energy levels inside your cells. When those levels drop to zero, the brain registers a state of emergency. It triggers an intense craving for more sugar, even as your blood becomes dangerously thick with it. 5,000 years ago, Ayurveda identified this state as Madhumeha. Ancient practitioners observed that when the metabolic fire, or Agni, is smothered by heavy, cold inputs, the body loses the intelligence to process the very nourishment it is given. This creates ama, a sticky metabolic waste that coats the cellular receptors. This sludge physically blocks the signaling process, leaving the body in a state where it is constantly fed but never fueled. Trying to cure this starvation with more sugar only thickens the sludge. You end up in a loop of rising blood toxicity, chronic inflammation, and cells that remain persistently empty. We see a structural equivalent in the financial markets with the myth of the 100 crore day, the idea that massive wealth is something you can actively generate in a single 24-hour window. Retail traders who feel financially starved attempt to force a result by using extreme 50x leverage. Like the diabetic eating sugar, they are trying to solve an infrastructure problem with a high-voltage input. This chart illustrates the math of leverage. When you use 50x exposure, you aren't just multiplying your gains, you are multiplying your sensitivity to price volatility. A minor 2% move against your position doesn't cause a temporary dip. It results in the total liquidation of your capital. Real 100 crore windfalls in the institutional world, like IPO listings or corporate mergers, function differently. These events aren't trades. They are the result of owning equity in a scalable system. The massive single-day payout is simply the moment an asset that took 10 years to build is finally converted into cash. It represents a decade of compounding value being unlocked in an instant. This is value realization, not value creation. Attempting to compress 10 years of growth into 24 hours of speculation is a mathematical dead end. To solve the paradox, you have to stop trying to force energy through the broken primary channels. You have to build a bypass, restoring sensitivity. Finally, high-quality fats provide backdoor energy, turning off starvation alarms without triggering the broken insulin system. This biological bypass has a direct structural equivalent in finance. Just as the muscle uses a secondary receptor to get fuel, the elite investor uses a secondary pathway to get capital. They move away from the high-pressure active income gate, where extreme leverage and volatility create massive resistance. Instead, they build equity. By focusing on high-value skills and long-term asset ownership, they create a system that compounds value quietly, bypassing the need for high-risk speculation. Whether you are repairing your metabolism or your portfolio, the strategy is the same. Ignore the demand for a quick fix. Slow down the timeline. bypass the broken signals, and build an infrastructure that can actually handle the weight of the results.